Hello, ladies. It says I'm live. I haven't done one like this in a while. I've been doing it through Zoom a lot. So let's see how it looks. Excuse the mess in the background. I didn't really take care of the background very much before I went live. So I'm doing it through YouTube this time. The setup was a little different when I went to go do it. It was a little different than I had done it before. So that was different. Okay, so go ahead and like the video, do all that good stuff. Subscribe if you're not. This was the last week I was doing slick text. So it just $30 a month was a little much. So I'm just going to get rid of that for now. So make sure that you tap the bell so that you'll know anytime I go live, it should pop up telling you that I'm going live. So, but I mean, it's pretty much always the same, 7 o'clock every Monday night Central. I'll let you guys know if I ever have to cancel or whatever. So make sure that you can hear me. Go ahead. Someone give me a thumbs up or something. Sound check. Make sure that you can hear me. So I saw Ashley was on here. Oh, I just got the notification that I'm going live. So everyone's probably going. I turn my phone on silent to start joining now. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Hey, Kimberly. Okay, so I'm a hot mess today. My hair kind of is just dead and hanging there. But we just, my husband was like around noon, hey, let's go hiking. So most of us, Abby is babysitting, but the rest of us, since my boys have off on Mondays, we loaded up and went to a really, really cool park. Amy, if you're listening, you guys told us about it. We didn't even know. We've lived here for like 10 years. And we didn't even know that this park existed, but it had caves. And it was in Iowa, so it's only land of the free. I'll get to that in a minute. But it's in Iowa, so it was only about an hour and 5 minutes away or something. And we had never seen it before, and it was just really, really cool. And it was literally cool down in the caves. So I'm a hot, sweaty mess because I did wear this shirt. I changed my undershirt when I got home because it was literally soaked with sweat. But I went right from there to throwing together an outline really quickly and then coming here. So I'm a hot mess tonight. So yeah, Amy, it was really, really cool. And it had like this, we went to this place when we were in Arizona where there was this natural land bridge, and it's a really cool place. But to get back there, we didn't know there was a huge set of stairs that actually led right to it. And the park ranger told us to go over this huge boulder of death. If Heather Major or Dana Fritz or Shannon Johnson is listening, we all went with all of our kids over this boulder, literally boulder trail of death is what I called it. I almost passed out from heat exhaustion by the time we finally got back there. Anyways, it was beautiful, but we have a miniature one of those right in Iowa, and it's only an hour, 15 minutes away from us, and we never knew about it until Amy went there. So it was really, really pretty. I want to go back with just my husband because I was wearing the baby. He had Kelly and everything, but it was cool. Sometimes it's fun just to do little spontaneous trips like that. So thanks for telling us about that place. It was really cool. But anyways, back to what I was saying about Iowa being the land of the free. Pritzker in Illinois just determined that he is reinforcing the mask mandate. So round 2 starting for us here in Illinois. Of course, I'm going to act like I don't know. I've noticed most of the stores in town, no one has put signs up. I've noticed the workers are wearing them again, but there's no signs up saying that you need to. So I'm just going to pretend like I didn't know it and live my life like it doesn't exist. Hey, Sarah. Hey, once saved, always saved. Yvonne, Amber, Cindy Marie, Angeli, KJV. Glad you guys are here. Okay, so I just came up with this topic when I was just kind of thinking, hey, Jordan, what is it that us ladies go through, in life? What is relevant to us? What is relevant to our life right now? What is relevant, hey, Deidre, to everything that we go through? And I am not a stranger to difficult times. This is not a show to just like talk about what a martyr I am, all the hard times I've been through, but I realize that everyone goes through difficult times in life. And we all have different situations, whether it's the death of a loved one, financial difficulties, illness, failed relationships, or huge changes in our life. That can even be tough to navigate. We all go through difficulties. And I'm no stranger to difficulties. This isn't like a sob fest. Most of you know a lot of my testimony. I'm pretty apparent when it comes to stuff that I talk about online. I'm pretty open. In fact, it's so funny when I actually meet ladies that listen to my show and they know so much about me. And I feel like I don't know anything about them. So that's always a little strange for me. But I do realize I talk about a lot of things I've been through, because talking about this stuff can help others relate. Sometimes I feel like some of the difficult things I've been through in life, God wanted me to go through it so that I would have empathy and compassion on others when they do go through it as well. And I really, truly believe that, especially when it comes to things like deaths of a loved one, deaths of a friend, deaths of miscarriages. Before I had been through a miscarriage, I never really understood what it was like to go through miscarriage. Obviously, you don't understand something until you've been there, right? So I feel like in the position that I'm in now, where I am a pastor's wife and we have lots of women of childbearing years that come to our church and maybe might be going through that, I'm able to empathize. There we go. I'm able to empathize more with them having been through that. And I also believe, just a side note, that's why one of the qualifications for a pastor is that he's married and he has children, because it's really hard as a pastor and a pastor's wife to really help people through those situations, especially to give advice on raising children, to help someone who's going through, miscarriages or something related to childbearing when you've never been through it. It's really hard to empathize. It's really hard to have compassion. It's really hard to even teach others that are going through that when you haven't been. So I feel like a lot of the stuff in my life, while it was not fun to go through, it was beneficial in the long run. So that's one of the points that I kind of have, realize that it can be teaching you lessons as you're going through it. So, if you guys have any other tips, I know all of our situations are different. We've all been through different things. Go ahead and leave them in the chat, as we talk about this. So, some of the things that have helped me when going through tough times, we're going to kind of go through it, that have helped me as you're going through it. And then also some tips at the end, what to do if someone is going through a hard time, different ways to help them out and things. So, and I also want to say that there are different things in all of our lives that are going to be tough to navigate, such as in my life, it's going to be a little different than maybe your life as a church member. A pastor's wife is going to go through difficult things that other people really don't understand unless they are a pastor's wife, such as church problems, when you get hurt by people in your church that kind of turn on you, when you're going through church split, when there is difficult things in the church that you have to deal with, all the pressure that comes with trying to do everything at home, trying to do everything, in the church, kind of, because pastors' wives, obviously we don't preach, but the pastor's wife does a lot in the background that you don't see or necessarily think about, whether that's planning events, whether that's always trying to make sure everyone's getting along, whether that's, getting church supplies, heading up that, how just being an encouragement to our husband. There's a lot of things pastors' wives do that most people just don't really see or think about. A lot of pressure that's on her, unless you're a pastor and a pastor's wife, you've been through that. Also mom stuff. If you've never been a mom, obviously this doesn't apply to you. Someday you might, but you're not really going to quite get it until you actually have kids. It's a completely different ballgame than even just babysitting or whatever. Singles go through difficulties that I was single at one time, obviously, but not for an extended amount of time. I mean, I was married at 20. So I was married pretty young. So I would consider single of a marriageable age for a couple of years. So there's a lot of stuff that I know single people deal with that married people don't. But then there's a lot of things that wives have to deal with that single women don't. So we all have our different struggles and different areas that, different difficult times that we're going through. So I'm sorry, Nicole. You know what, Nicole, I will personally text you every week. Okay, Nicole, get on the computer. I'm going live. Or get on your phone. I'm going live. Okay, so I got your number on my phone. I can do that for sure. So, but here are some things that help me when going through tough times. as I'm going through them, there have been many defining moments in my life as far as tough things that I've gone through. Obviously, the biggest defining moment, my first defining moment, not biggest, I would say my first, was when my dad died when I was 17. Now, I always remember I was in this youth group, and we had this youth pastor. And this was back when I was at a church in Sandwich, Illinois. Yeah, it was really named that. And I don't know, I wasn't really fond of this youth pastor. Excuse me, I have a slight cold, probably the Delta variant. But anyways, there was this youth pastor. I wasn't super fond of him. And it was because he would make snide little comments about us pastors' kids being or not pastors' kids, the families in the church that weren't bus families, like bus kid families. Like he really had a heart for bus kids, which is great. I think you should have a heart for bus kids. But he would pick these bus kids out. And so he would kind of make little comments toward us that were in a family that came to church. And he would say, you silver spooners don't understand. You've never been through anything tough in your life. And I would just always kind of be a little offended about that. Like, we all go through tough times. Just because, my life isn't as hard as theirs. Well, then I lost my dad at 17. And I remember his comments kind of going through my head as I was going through it. And I remember thinking, I'm not a silver spooner anymore, because this is really hard. This is really tough. This is really painful. For 3 or 4 years, my dad was diagnosed when I was about 13 or 14 with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. And I think the hardest part of it all was watching him struggle through that illness, and just seeing how bad he got, and watching him suffer, and seeing him slowly become paralyzed. ALS is a horrible, horrible disease. And anytime I hear of someone getting it, still to this day, then the breath is knocked out of my lungs, because it brings back everything. And you'll notice as you go through grief in your life too, you'll be going along fine, and then something will trigger it, and you'll suddenly just feel like you were punched in the gut. And I still remember that. And that happened so long ago. But just all that to say, be careful, what you say to people, because you don't know the struggles that are going on in their life. You don't know what they've been through. Maybe they come from a home where they have an abusive father, or maybe they come from a broken home with divorced parents, or maybe they come from a home where they did lose a parent, and then their mom or dad got remarried, which was the home that I eventually, came from. So one thing that helped me as I was going through that first defining thing was realizing that the pain, the deep searing pain of the initial loss, was not going to last forever. And even at 17, I knew we got to get through this. When a death of a loved one occurs, just keep reminding yourself, life does go on, as sad as that is. But you just don't want to forget about that person either. So exactly, grief doesn't go away. And there's just something more distant between the peaks later. Exactly. At first, you feel like you're just in the valley, like all the time. Like it's just overwhelming. And I don't think I realized at age 17, I didn't have the maturity of going through different things. So I didn't realize the depth of my loss at that point. I feel like now that I'm 40 and I've had kids, and he hasn't been here for all the peak moments of my life, like getting married and having my first kid, and now getting kids that are older and seeing them grow up to be adults, and he's not here to see it. I feel like sometimes I feel that loss more keenly now. But, when it first happens, just realize it's not going to last forever, obviously. Nothing ever does. Life goes on. But the grief does change somewhat, like Sarah said. And I feel like sometimes too, navigating the dark waters of that, when it first happens, you're in water over your head. You feel like you can't breathe. You have to just, push forward with all your strength, try to get out of that deep water. Then it kind of becomes a little more calm, and you're kind of treading water. You can keep your head above water, but it's still tough. It's still tiring. And then eventually you get to where you're kind of just, playing on the shoreline of life. And it is a lot more calm and easier, but still the tide does roll in at times, and you do feel that grief wash over you. So it definitely does get a little easier. But You know, change what you can when you're going through those and let go of the things that you can't. And that's one thing, especially, you know, as the oldest, I felt a level of responsibility because I knew my mom, I was like her right hand person then at that point. And I feel like I did have a good childhood. And then when 14 came along and my dad was diagnosed, things kind of changed for our family. And there was definitely a shadow over our home, you know, just seeing him fight through that and seeing him lose the ability to hold a spoon. And we had to cut up all his food, and seeing him lose the ability to shave, and seeing him have to put on his leg braces on both legs just so he could walk with a cane. And then seeing him go into the wheelchair and on oxygen. And then we were actually all at home when he did die at age 17. So I feel like there was a shadow over our life. And once he died, I did take on a lot of the responsibility of, I was the mother hen, I'm the oldest. So I had to realize that there were some things I couldn't control, such as death. And I just gave it up to God. But then I tried to help out in the areas that I could, as far as being there for my mom. And I do feel like this went on a couple of years, and I didn't really, I was in such, I don't know, survival mode, or I don't know if I was just trying to, it was like shock. But I don't feel like I fully grieved. And then when my mom started dating my stepdad, it really hit me. And I had a really tough time with it. And I had to actually go away for a couple of weeks to my best friend's house to kind of work through all my emotions and get away from everything. And I did. I had to work through them. And then I was able to face, okay, my mom is probably getting remarried. And I had to face that. And that was really tough for me. So I have a really special place in my heart, too, for kids that are struggling when their moms are remarrying, because it was tough for me. It was really tough. Just, I think that was kind of the final thing of, okay, he's never coming back. You know, this is it. He's never coming back. He's really gone. And life has moved on. So that was really, really tough for me. So I'm sorry. I'm like losing track of the chats, guys. So Ashley said, I don't like it when someone says God won't give you more than you can handle. We can't handle pain and grief in our own strength. We need God to help us. Absolutely. And I feel so bad for people that aren't saved, because where do they look to? Where's their comfort? You know, where's the comfort of heaven? Where's the comfort that God gives them? It's just, it must be so much harder as an unsaved person to deal with grief. So, oh, I'm sorry, Cindy. She said, I lost my mother in February of this year, and it's been so hard. She was only 58. That's very young. Yeah, my dad was only 44, so it was really tough. And I'm 40. So I'm thinking, my dad was only 4 years older than me when he died. And then Angela said, you have to let yourself grieve, even though it hurts. I avoided it for a long time, and it hit me like a ton of bricks when I eventually gave into it. And that's exactly what it did to me when I was about 19, when it really, really hit me. When my mom started dating the man that would become my stepdad, it was a lot to work through. I hadn't worked through it yet. I'm kind of the person that will push aside, and I don't really want to face things like emotional things, and I'll put it off for as long as I can. I've learned as I grow older to just deal with it, work through the grief right when it hits me. And I did with when one of my best friends died, Kelly. I did work through it, and the grief was very overwhelming at first, and I still miss her every day. Like I follow her daughter on Instagram, who looks just like her. And whenever I see her posts, it's like, oh, it's so sad. Hi, Erin. Hi, Jen. Hi, Blanca. And then Blanca says, I lost my mom last December, and she was also 50. I'm sorry. No matter what age that you lose your mom or your dad at, it's hard. It's super, super hard. But I really hope, they were saved. And that's the thing about being a Christian, embrace the comfort of heaven if they're saved. And that's what keeps me going, knowing that I'm going to see my loved ones again. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Even if you're grieving or going through a hard time, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Things will get better, and your life will get better. So just think of that. Remember the good memories. When you lose a loved one, remember the good memories and let go of the bad. This was tough for me. You know how it is. You're trying to go to sleep, and you have all these thoughts, like all the mom guilt, all the wife guilt, just all the guilt, right? It's just like overwhelms us as you're laying there trying to sleep. And I would lay there, and I could be snotty at times. You know how teenagers are, 16, 17. I could be snotty sometimes to my dad. And after he died, I would lay there and I would think about every single snotty thing I ever said to him. And I'm just like, you are the worst person in the world. You are the worst daughter in the world. What is wrong with you? And I would just regret it so bad. And one day I remember thinking to myself, Cassandra, your dad was like the most gracious person on earth. He was so kind to everyone. He was so kind. He was so forgiving. He was like friends with everyone. He was outgoing. He loved people. And he was so kind and forgiving to us kids. He didn't hold grudges. Even if we were snotty, he would just kind of laugh it off. And I remember laying there thinking, he would not want you to be, wallowing in this guilt. He's in heaven. He's happy. His body is whole. He's running again. He's able to breathe again. He would tell you, Cassandra, it's fine. I forgive you. And so that really, really, really helped me to just kind of put to rest all those bad memories and bad thoughts. And so I'm like, I'm not thinking about this anymore. And you just have to put it out of your mind. You have to just forget about it, put it to rest, come to terms. Yeah, I was a little snot, but my dad, if he was here today, he would say, I forgive you. It was fine, And now that I have teenagers, I understand. So definitely understand. Yes, that would be hard. That would be really tough, Jen, if your family and in-laws are unsaved. I would say, do what you can to give them the gospel so that okay, I've done the best that I can as far as that, but then leave it in God's hands, and realize that as a person they have a choice when it comes to that. So remember that your family member or loved one wants you to be happy. They don't want you crying for the rest of your life. They don't want you, immersed with sadness and pain, and they would want you to go on, and they would want you to be happy. They would want you to know, if they're in heaven, I'm in heaven, I'm so much happier, please live your life. So I try to think of it that way, and then talk about it. Definitely talk about it. I didn't talk about it enough when it happened. Being 17, like I said, I had never been through something like this. When Kelly died, I was able to talk a lot more about it. I wrote a lot about it. I know you guys probably got sick of hearing about it, and you probably still get sick about hearing about it. But she was incredibly special to me. I mean, one of my most special people in my life that I've ever been friends with. We were so close, and I'll always miss her until I get to heaven. I always will. And so I did a lot better with talking through it and processing my grief that way. So Aaron said, we lost my mother-in-law 3 years ago. I miss her every day. She's been in my life since I was 19. My husband and I celebrate 20 years of marriage September 29th. I'm blessed to still have my mom and dad. I'm sorry you lost her. That is sad. I'm glad you still have your mom and dad too. So that is tough, Jen. I'm sorry. I would pray for him as well. But cry if you need to, but try not to let it be overwhelming. Okay. Realize the pain will always be there, but it will lessen with time. And it will, like Sarah said, there are different, there's different peaks and different valleys and different things that you navigate. So let me send my daughter a text real quick. Okay. So there, she's here in the other part of the building. Realize, one thing that I've done to help is get something to symbolize that person. When I lost through miscarriage the babies, I got a little heart pendant with the dates that the dates they were due, the dates that I lost them. So, and then with little tiny feet, they were about 9-10 weeks old when they died. So that really helped. With my dad, I have a Bible that used to be his with his little notes through it, and that's kind of my keepsake from him. With Kelly, she had actually sent me a Bible as well, and I still have that, and it's very, very special to me. We had also had matching necklaces. I still have that. That's very, very special to me. So Ashley, exactly the same. She said, I feel like I grieved my dad the most when my mom was dating my stepfather. Exactly. So you know what I was going through. That really made my dad's death more permanent. I feel like I grieved him more when my other family moved on. I agree. And I feel like we do go through different stages of grief and it hits us at different times. So, but yeah, if you guys have any more tips about dealing with death of loved ones, just put it down. I had actually written an essay on the stages of grief when I was a teenager for a fine arts competition. And I kind of went through different things that I had gone through. And it's really interesting to study about it and to kind of see what's going to come, because I could see all of them in my life and I had gone through the same, the same things. So what about, let's go on to financial difficulties, navigating through the dark waters of financial difficulties. And I know this seems like not as big of a deal compared to the death of a loved one, but financial difficulties are real, and they are tough, especially if it's something major like bankruptcy. Some of the leading causes of divorce is the death of a loved one. Number 2 is bankruptcy. So it does wreak a lot of havoc on marriages, relationships, different things like that. So I would say, first of all, when it comes to financial difficulties, prioritize what's important in your life. Do you want a big family or do you want lots of money? Because if you have a big family, chances are you're not going to have lots of money. So I found that to be true in my own life. Since day one of getting married, I mean, we had a baby 9 months after we got married. So pretty much from day one, things have been tight. Things have been really, really tight. My husband has never made, 6 figures a year. We live a very modest lifestyle. As all of you know, I love to thrift. I love to get deals. I used to be a coupon queen. Things aren't as tight as when I had the $40 a week grocery budget. So I don't coupon anymore because I have more priorities like homeschooling and different things like that. But when my kids were little, I had more time to do stuff like that. So, but if you are going to have a big family, you're probably not going to have a lot of money. So just come to terms with that when you get married. But the biggest tip I would give when you first get married is definitely to get on a plan to help yourself out. You need to get on some kind of budget. I've done budgeting things. I did one with my husband, and then he did no, I didn't do one with my husband. He did a budget. He went through a program and showed you how to set up a budget. Watch that. Even if you're single and you need help with money, watch that. It will really, really help you out. Getting on a budget is the number one thing to help yourself out. If you are in debt, try to start paying that debt off. If you do a method that Dave Ramsey recommends, which is called the Snowball Method, you start with the smallest debt and you work your way up. As you start paying off debt by debt by debt by debt, it suddenly gets faster and faster, and you start applying all that money towards the debt you paid off. It starts getting faster, faster, faster. It has a snowball effect, and then you're able to pay off your biggest debt. Right now, we do have a little bit on the credit card that sometimes monthly we put stuff on there, but it's very small. Our main debt right now, the only debt we have is our house debt. So, and that will be paid off in 15 years. So we're trying to work our way towards there to get that snowball debt, to get that paid off, because you'd be amazed at all the money that goes towards debt. That will, lots and lots and lots of money. Yes, have no debt. Try to pay cash with everything. We have not stuck to this 100%. We have had car loans. We don't have a car loan right now, but we normally have car loans. We've had them paid off for a few months now. But it would be great if you could save cash for a car. We have done that in the past. Remember that there's different seasons in your life. We have gone through a lot of rice and beans seasons. And I've talked a lot about this before. And money things have never really gotten me down. Right now it's just a way of life. I'm just used to having to stretch a penny a long ways. But I think it's because in the early years of my marriage, I think it bothered me more than now, but I had to really learn the art of contentment. And I really think this is the key when it comes to financial stuff. First of all, the Bible does talk about in Proverbs how the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her. And I do think that has a lot to do with money things. And so you want your husband to be able to trust you when it comes to things. I've known of wives that have their husband has gotten debt paid off, and then the next week they have gone and just ran up massive amounts of debt, whether that's furniture or whatever on the credit card. And then their husband's back to square one with paying off debt. Don't be a wife like that. I would recommend. Do not be a wife like that. Yes, make a game out of saving money, out of thrift store, seeing how much you can save. Kohl's, I've been kind of disappointed in them lately. They don't have as many sales as they do normally, but I love it at Kohl's when you're able to get a whole outfit off of clearance, and then at the bottom of the receipt you see how much you saved. That's really fun to see how much you saved, because I only ever pretty much buy clothes on clearance at Kohl's. So, but learning contentment was the number one thing that helped me navigate dark waters of financial difficulties. And we have been at some points in our life where we did have a lot of debt and we had to chip away at that and pay that off. And it stinks. It's not easy, and it causes a lot of stress, when you've got that. So definitely get on a budget, get your finances under control. Finances, unless it's a major event like this, you don't have insurance and you have this horrible accident and you end up in the hospital, someone gets cancer, you don't have insurance, something like that, unless it's inevitable or unforeseeable. Unless it's an unforeseeable event, usually people can get control of their finances. It's just a matter of self-control, realizing that they have to live within their means, not living outside of their means. So for us, when it comes to even eating out, our family doesn't get to eat out very often because it's really expensive for a big family. So that's a really big treat. So we try to cook most of our meals at home, because obviously cooking at home is going to be a lot cheaper, healthier option than taking your whole family out to eat. So yes, the cash binder is the cash binder thing is nice. That's where you just take out cash for all of your purchases and you put them in different envelopes for the week. We did do that for a while. That's the Dave Ramsey system as well. Patience goes with a big family and money too. My husband and I bought a fixer-upper for our first home, and I've definitely had to learn patience on fixing it up, especially with almost 5 children. Yes, I can imagine. Well, and that's kind of why we chose to remodel, because we were looking at trying to upgrade a home, and with our budget, it really wouldn't have been much better. So instead, we just chose to remodel what we had and to, add the room in the garage for Tommy. And it turned out being a lot better, but it was a long 3 months. And this was only 3 months, so I can't imagine what you're going through. It was a long 3 months of having someone in my home like every single day. Yeah, that took a lot of patience. But learning contentment is the number one thing. Becoming smart and making your dollars stretch. Realizing that the grass is not always greener on the other side. While someone might have a big fancy home, they might be, their family might be a wreck. If you have a happy family, you have a happy life, you have a happy home, realize that that is amazing in and of itself. And don't be envious of the huge mansion where they're constantly fighting and they have to have alcohol to be happy and they have to have drugs to be happy, and then learn from your mistakes. I remember my husband tells this story about how he got roped into buying, and this is so funny because it was a landline. It was back when he first got a phone for our home. Back then everyone had landlines, and he got roped into buying this super fancy schmancy telephone that was this landline telephone, and he ended up having to make payments like every month for it on his phone bill. And he was so mad at himself when he realized what he did, and he could not pay that thing off fast enough, and he was like, never again. I can't even remember. It was some outlandish, like, I don't know, $500 phone or something. It was stupid. I don't know if it was that much, but he was so mad at himself. But he learned from that mistake. It's helped us not to make the same mistake, now. Always look at the fine print, because he hadn't really looked at the fine print. He didn't really know what the final price was going to be, and he still talks about that. So, all right. So that's what I would recommend when you're navigating the dark waters when it comes to finances. If you guys have any other tips, leave them in the chat. But let's go through, what about failed relationships? I know as women, this is a really, really tough one. This is a tough one for me personally. I don't know. Friendships are really important to me. I don't know why. And as you guys know, as you go through life, you do invest a lot into friendships. Even when it comes to the friendships within my church, with the ladies here, it's very important to me. I'm a people person. And even when it comes to just opening, I'm not good at, most of my church ladies know I'm not good at hiding my emotions. I'm pretty much, they can tell if I have a bad day. You know, I've had a bad day, I'll just tell you. And there's a certain level of trust in friendship, right? And true friendship doesn't seek to control. So you don't seek to control the other person. Your friend doesn't seek to control you. And so there's a certain level of trust, even with the women that come here to this church. There's a certain level of trust that we give each other. So then when those friendships end up failing, which some are, you know, some do, it happens, life happens, and then they use that level of trust that you gave them against you, it's very painful. Maybe that's a pastor's wife thing. Maybe not. I don't know. Have you guys ever had friends that turn on you and then the things that you told them in confidence, maybe they use against you? I know women can be really downright mean sometimes. They can be pretty mean sometimes. So, you know, sometimes in life, yeah, that's true, Angeli, especially if it comes to a significant other. She said sometimes a failed relationship is God saving you from miserable future. Yeah, okay, good. Definitely not only a pastor's wife thing. That's good. I mean, it's not good. It's not good, but you guys can relate to what I'm talking about. So, you know, sometimes circumstances change with friendships, and that's okay. A lot of times you're going one way and they're going the other, and you mutually agree we need to just part ways. That's fine. Life happens. You know, you go through situations which help form your opinions and your thoughts and your personality. They might do the same. And then sometimes you just don't mesh as well. You know, I'm so grateful that I'm still best friends with my friend from when I was 12 years old. And we've been through everything, but it's really cool kind of the place that we're at now because we're so similar now. You know, at 12, we would have never seen ourselves in the place that we're at now with our children and being pastors' wives and all this stuff. But it's really cool how God just kind of kept us close through all those years. One thing that I do whenever there is a failed relationship is I always look inward and I ask myself, can I learn from what happened? Where did I go wrong? You know, what did I do wrong? Could I have been more understanding? Could I have, you know, tried to fight a little bit harder for this? And I'm telling you, when it comes to most relationships, I fight really hard for my relationships. The ones that are very important for me. I don't like to give up on them, maybe to a fault, but I really don't. I really do try to fight for them until it's just apparent it's not going to work out anymore. So, you know, but I always do. I look inwardly and I say, you know, did I do something that came off wrong? And it's really hard when someone gets really offended, it's really hard to win that person back. You know, and I've actually read too that in life, when you meet someone else, your initial opinion of them doesn't really drastically change through the years, even if, you know, they do something that you like, or even if they do something you don't like. Generally within the first 5 minutes, we kind of feel people out and we can kind of tell if we're going to click or not. It's crazy, but as human beings, we can do that. And so I always look inwardly. You know, is there something, can I learn from something that happened here? You know, I'm always trying to work on myself and be a better person. So that's one thing you do. You know, be the friend that you want to be. I think if everyone just remembered this, be the friend I want to be. Would I want someone to use this against me? Would I act this way towards someone if they hurt me? If the answer is no, then don't do it to someone else. Obviously, if we all did that, we would be fine, I think. You know, it's okay to grieve the loss of friendships because it's not like a death per se, but it is the death of a friendship, and it's tough. It's really, really tough when you lose a friendship, and it's okay to grieve that and to always miss that person. I still have friendships that ended badly, and I tried reaching out and it was not reciprocated. And I do try to reach out to people maybe that are offended or that I'm trying to salvage what's there, salvage a relationship that's there. A lot of times people don't want to salvage it. And at that point, you can't push it. You can't be like a crazy ex-girlfriend. You have to just let them go. You can't force anyone to be your friend. You can't force people to repair, you know, hurts and things that they're offended by. So you just got to let it go at that point. And that's what I was gonna say. Don't be a crazy ex-girlfriend. If a friendship happens to end, leave them alone. Oh, I was like about to go. I heard something. Okay, am I still live? Yes. Sorry, I heard a sound and then the screen went black. Okay. As long as we're good, we're still live. So I hope I don't end all of a sudden. Just a minute. Let me click off on this, see what's going on over here. Okay. Yep, I heard a sound. I'm thinking the computer's trying to restart. I hope it's not. So if I lose you guys, hopefully you got something out of it and that's the end of it, I guess. But I'm still live, so let's keep going. But yeah, a lot of people I see, I don't know, women can be very vindictive, and it's like to make themselves feel better after a failed friendship, they have to discredit the other person. So this person's just crazy, this person's that. And that's when they'll use, stuff against you or talk bad about you. And as someone on the outside hearing this stuff, just remember, there's always two sides to every story. And everyone always makes themselves look better when telling a story, right? So just remember that. Remember that other person is not there to tell their side of the story. So just keep that in mind when you hear things. And then too, if I hear something about other people, I tend to go to them and ask them, if I've heard stories over the last year of me supposedly say something about another person, and first of all, I don't even remember doing it. And I have to think back, when did I do this? I guess I did. I don't remember it at all. But it really bothers me because it festered for a year, and they could have just come to me and we could have cleared things up. I have the type of personality, if I hear someone's talking about me, I go to them and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I thought we were good. I thought we were friends. You talking smack about me? So I'll go to them and I'll ask them, what's going on? And I wish everyone would do that with me. Oh, because I hear all these stories of things that I've supposedly done and I don't remember it at all. I don't. And I don't know. So I'm sorry if you guys have heard stuff. I don't remember it. So, yeah. So anyways, if my advice would be if you do hear something, rumor mill, something going on with someone that you thought was a friend, go to them directly and say, hey, are we good? Is there something I need to work on? What's going on? Just talk to them about it. That's what I try to do. And a lot of times they'll be like, no, we're fine. Then you're fine. So, hey, Joyce. Oh, that's cool, Angeli. She just did I don't have TikTok. I've never gotten it. But she did a link to a lady doing cash methods. So anyways, if you guys have any more friendship tips, leave them down below. So, yeah, gossip doesn't. And most of the time, people are gossiping. And a lot of times, people are gossiping about you, trying to see if you were gossiping about them. It's really weird. So just go directly to that person. It's always so much better. That would be my advice. Go directly to the person. But let's go over really quickly. We're running out of time. I didn't think this was going to be very long. But illness of the family, if you're going through illness. I have friends that right now are facing illness. Be praying for Mrs. Beth Todd. She is in our Gently Led Sisters group on Facebook. Her husband is very, very ill right now. And he has pneumonia. He's been intubated for a long time. And they're facing decisions that they have to make. So please lift her up in prayer. Don't just say you're going to pray. Actually do it. Really, really pray for her. And her husband's name is Brother Ron Todd. And they really, really need it. I can't imagine she can't really be with him. So the only thing that she can do is sometimes FaceTime him or do a Zoom call. That's not the same as being there. This COVID stuff is crazy. And I really feel for the people that have sick family members right now that can't be with them. So really, really, really be praying for her. But, just embrace the chaos and the crazy as you're going through it. Realize, okay, things are going to be chaotic. It's okay. My house might fall apart right now. It's okay. I'll get it back in order after we deal with this, whether that's a week of everyone throwing up, whether that's a cancer diagnosis, reach out for help. If you're the one going through the cancer, I know when my friend Kelly had cancer, she ended up, the ladies at church made meals for her. She enlisted the help of a cleaning lady. Someone at church paid for someone to come clean her house, and that was a huge help. She did have to put her kids in the Christian school. She just could not homeschool them anymore. And that was a decision she had to make. If that's something that you could do, homeschooling takes a lot out of you, and it's very, very stressful. So not everyone can do it. So look into other options. And at the time, it was just the church, an IFB church across town, and it was just the pastor's kids and her kids. So it was an ideal situation. It worked out really, really well. So, but you remember that you're going to need time to recover and process what happened after it's all said and done. Whether that's finally they're home from the hospital and you're able to just, kind of release all the anxiety and everything that you've been going through. And it's going to take, you're probably going to have PTSD from it for a while. So just remember that you have to process through that. Do easy meals, easy cleanups, ditch the guilt when it comes to frozen pizzas and frozen foods. For a while, you're going to have to do that. If you are blessed to be at a good church, reach out and ask for meals if that would help. Another thing that we have now at our fingertips is DoorDash, different things like that. You could DoorDash a meal to them. I know I've DoorDashed things to my friends when they're going through hard times. That's a really easy option now. We have so many options available to us now. So yeah, don't expect things to go back to normal. Exactly. Especially, if you do have fallout from the illness, if your life changes, if they've had pneumonia and they've been intubated and then they have a tracheotomy and all these things that go with it, which is what Mrs. Todd is facing right now. So, realize that her life might never be normal again. So I'm really, really, really praying for her. And then Ashley, that's a good idea. This is a good idea for any hard time. Journaling has helped her in times of illness. Journaling's helped me. Writing about it for me. I don't really journal, but just writing things on my Facebook or my blog, which I haven't done blog in a while. Sorry guys. That really helps me process things and get through grief and different things like that. So if you have any other tips, definitely leave them. But I really quickly want to go over what to do with someone is going through a hard time. Okay, so that was all kind of tips to help you as you navigate dark waters. But what about someone is going through a hard time? I would say the number one thing is just be there. And like Sarah said, ask your friends for specific help. Laundry, feeding the dog, watering the dog, bathing the kids on a particularly hard night. Really reach out and tell them that you're there for them. So be there, number one. Just tell them, let them know. And as humans, we have a hard time reaching out for help, I think, a lot. But be there and encourage them to ask you for help if they need it. Encourage them, don't lecture them. This is something I've had to learn over the years. I am a fixer. I want to fix the problem. I think logically. A lot of men are this way too. They think logically. And so when their wives vent to them, they just want to fix the problem. I kind of have the same mindset. So when someone is venting to me, I've had to come to realize, just listen to them. Listen to them and sympathize with them. Don't try to fix the problem. Because I'm a fixer by nature. Remember, I'm the oldest. And then when my dad died, I became a fixer of problems. I had to fix my mom's grief, and I had to fix my brothers and sisters' grief, and I had to fix all their problems and, be their mother hen and help my mom raise them and all these different things. So I'm a fixer by nature. So it's hard for me just to take a step back and be like, they just need a hug right now. They just need me to listen right now. They just need some compassion right now. So yeah, we all need venting sessions, Jen. So yeah. And sometimes I'll tell my husband, okay, I'm going to vent to you. I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to listen. And so then he knows, okay, I don't need to offer a solution. But what about a card? Cards are so antiquated now, right? But I think that they're still helpful. One of the things I like that's a little more up to date is this thing called Brightbox, I think it is. And I've sent this to quite a few people, and it's just a cute little gift box. Not much comes in it, but you can send a really cute little gift box. I've done ones before with like a candle, necklace, chapstick, and then a cute little card. or I've done like, I think like a bath soak, lotion, eye mask, different things like that. There's you can make your own little boxes. And that's a really, really cute idea. Bright Box is another idea. And it's just a cute little gift box that will help brighten someone's day. And so that's kind of a more up-to-date thing. How about gift cards? You can buy electronic gift cards that will help brighten someone's day. Even just a $10 Starbucks card. It's just so nice to know someone's thinking about you. They want you to get a coffee. You're having a hard day, you're having a hard week, and I'm going to take my own advice and I'm going to email someone close to me one of those as soon as I'm off the show, because I think she could use a little pick me up. So a $10 a week here and there, just to brighten someone's day, someone that's going through a hard time in their life. It goes a long way, and people remember those little acts of kindness quite a bit. So I would recommend that. And then obviously pray, pray for them. Your prayers are going to help a lot. I really feel like the prayers of all you ladies helped me through my very high stress birth with Hannah and the breech situation and getting her turned, and then the fast delivery. She was my easiest one. I really feel I could feel the prayers. I really, really could. You ladies helped out tremendously. So, that is a wonderful surprise. And Angela said a lady at church gave me a gift basket with essential oils when I was feeling low. It was super sweet to know she thought of it. I know, and it can just be something really small, but it's just nice to know someone's thinking of you. And then Jen said, I recently came home to a crumble cookie and a card from a neighbor. It was a wonderful surprise. Just a little touch. Super sweet. Offer to babysit someone's kids if they're having a horrible day, if they just need a breather. Sometimes they just need a little time to themselves. If you're okay with that, I'm fine with watching our church ladies' kids sometimes. Offer to babysit if they need the break. And then, put yourself in their shoes. Try to imagine. I have a great imagination. So I can imagine what it would feel like to go through some things that people go through. I can imagine very vividly because some of the things I've been through. So try to think of what it's like in their shoes and think of how you would want to be treated if you were going through that same situation in your life. And then be patient with them. Don't be like Job's friends and be sitting there while he's covered in boils and scraping himself and covered in ashes and just lost all of his kids and how most of his wealth is gone. And they're just like, what's wrong with you? Are you kidding me? He needed time to grieve what he had lost. And, he needed time to process it all. And they're just like, what's wrong with you? So be patient with them. Give them time to grieve. Give them time to get over it. And I'm sorry, when it comes to things like death, I don't feel like we ever truly get over it. I feel like with every loss I've had, a little bit of my heart is gone, and that hole will always be there until I get to heaven. That's just personally how I feel about it. Yes, the pain does get less and you're able to cope a lot better with life. And the happy times will be a lot more than the sad times, but you'll still always have that little piece of your heart that's gone. And if you've ever lost anyone, you'll know what I'm talking about. And different things will trigger it that come up. So, let your husband know if you're going through anything that's tough. I always have a hard time around Father's Day, April 6th, February 7th. April 6th was when my dad died. February 7th was when Kelly died. They're kind of trigger dates for me. I have a hard time on those days. And then sometimes the day will come and I'll just be like really melancholy for like a week. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And then I'll remember, oh, that's why. It's like subconsciously my heart knows, that I'm getting ready to go through the anniversary of the death or whatever it is. So hopefully this will help you navigate through some of those hard times. If you guys have any other tips, leave them in the comments, leave them, in the live chat or whatever. But if you have any topic suggestions, this was just kind of thrown together last minute. We all are going through hard times, and it's good to know that it's good in a way to know that other people can empathize with us and they know what we're going through. And it's good to talk about it with other people. So Joyce said it may be years since it happened, but I need to talk about bad experiences sometimes, but I feel weird bringing it up out of the blue. That is one good thing about being married. Your spouse has to listen to you, bring it up if you're having a bad day. But, if you have a really close friend, she's going to totally understand if you're like, yeah, I'm really down today. This thing triggered this memory for me. And, can I just talk about it with you? And I'm sure she'd be like, yes, please do. I encourage my friends, please unload on me. Please vent to me. I can tell when my friends are going through hard times. They get really quiet. They get really quiet. They're not as chatty as they normally are, and they kind of close off. And so I'm like, I kind of try to pull it out of them because I know they're going to feel better once they let it out. And usually they do feel better. So, just be that friend. Yeah, there are things that trigger past experiences for sure. Different things. We were all raised differently, and we all have things in our childhood that brings us pain. And so there are different triggers that can cause pain or cause those things to come up. But I found the best way for me is talking about it or just taking a shower and crying about it, and then I'm fine. So just letting it all out, and then I'm fine. And sometimes that's what you need to do. Just go take a long bath by yourself, lock the kids out, and then just kind of process through your grief, acknowledge your grief, realize that it's there, and then work your way through it. So anyways, I hope that was a help. Give me some guest ideas, give me some topic ideas, and I'll try to get them on here. So, oh, thanks. I try not to be pushy. Sarah said, I appreciate your willingness to help when I'm going through things. You offer solutions but aren't pushy about fixing it. I hope I'm never pushy. I know. I can't help but talk and offer some kind of solution. I'm sorry. It's part of my personality. Like I said, I like to fix things. I like to try to help things. So, but oftentimes my solutions aren't going to be your solutions, and that's fine. So take the good, leave the bad, right? But anyways, I hope you guys have a great week and get out and do some things like hiking. It's always good to get in the sun and in nature and ditch the masks and enjoy some of God's creation. And sometimes you'll have state parks near you that you never knew about. We lived here almost 10 years. We found a new one. So that's going to be a regular for us. So I hope you guys have a good week. Love on your family. Love your kids. Love God. And we will see you next week. All right. Bye.